Many people believe retirement planning is complicated, that you need to be good at math, that you need to understand complex formulas, that you need a financial advisor, or that retirement planning is only something wealthy people need to think about. So they put it off. Not because they don't care about their future, but because they simply don't know where to begin. But what if I told you finding your retirement number doesn't have to take hours or days or weeks? What if it only takes a simple calculator, a few important numbers, and a few minutes to finally understand the amount you're working toward? Because that is exactly what I created for you. A simple tool to help you answer one important question. How much money do I actually need to retire? Finding your retirement number takes only a few minutes. But building the life that gets you there takes years of discipline. Because financial freedom is not created by one perfect decision. It is created by the small decisions you repeat every day. The money you choose to save, the expenses you choose to control, the investments you choose to continue. Your retirement future is built long before your last day at work. It is built by the discipline you practice today. And stay with me until the end of this video, because after we understand the foundations of retirement planning, I'll open this calculator and run different scenarios with you. We'll see how changing different inputs, your age, your monthly expenses, your investments, and your retirement goal can completely change your results. Because sometimes seeing the numbers come to life is when everything finally makes sense. Because without knowing your retirement number, you can spend your entire life wondering, will I ever have enough? You work harder. You try to earn more. You save when you can. You hope that somehow everything will work out. But deep inside, there is always uncertainty. Because you are moving forward, but you don't know where you are going. Think about driving to a place you've never been before, without entering a destination. You can keep moving. You can even drive faster. But eventually, you will realize you don't know if you are getting closer. Money works the same way. Without a target, you may spend years asking yourself, am I doing enough? Should I be saving more? Should I be earning more? Am I already too late? Meet Anna and Jane. They are not completely different people. They are actually very similar. They're the same age, they have similar incomes, they both work hard, they both want to enjoy life. They both want to build a comfortable future. But there is one difference. Jane chooses to understand her future today. Anna believes she still has time. I'll start when I earn more. I'll plan when life becomes easier. I'll figure it out later. And honestly, this is where many people find themselves. Not because they are careless, not because they don't care, but because tomorrow always feels far away. Until suddenly, it isn't. The difference between Anna and Jane did not happen overnight. It happened through small decisions, repeated over many years. Jane did not become financially secure because she found a secret formula. She simply understood one important thing. Before you can build your future, you need to know what future you are building. And that starts with knowing your number. The truth is, none of us can predict exactly what the future will look like. Life will change. Unexpected things will happen. But one thing we can do is prepare. And preparation starts with clarity. Because you cannot plan what you have never measured. Your retirement number gives you a destination that gives you purpose and direction to every financial decision. It tells you how much you may need, where you currently stand, and what decisions you may need to make today. Because when you know your target, your choices become clearer. You stop blindly chasing more money. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You start making decisions with purpose. And that is what we are going to discover today. When people hear the words retirement planning, they immediately think about investing. They think, how much should I invest? What investment should I choose? How can I grow my money? But before you build wealth, you first need to understand your money. Because if you don't know where your money is going today, it becomes very difficult to build the future you want tomorrow. The first step toward financial freedom is awareness. Knowing how much money comes in, how much money goes out, and what your money is actually building for you. This is why I created the My Income Allocation, or MIA system. It's a simple way to organize your income into different categories so you can clearly see where your money is going. Because financial freedom does not start when you earn more. It starts when you become intentional with what you already have. And if you are watching this video and you still don't know where your money goes every month, don't worry. I created a separate video explaining the MIA system. I'll put the link in the description below. You can start there first, because before you can answer, how much do I need to retire, you first need to understand, how much does my life cost today? This is why retirement planning is not only about the future. It starts with the decisions you make today, the money you spend, the lifestyle you choose, the habits you build. Because the retirement you experience one day is connected to the choices you repeat for years. One of the biggest retirement myths is, I'll start later. And this sounds reasonable, because later feels like a real time we will eventually reach. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I earn more. I'll start when my expenses go down. I'll start when life becomes less busy. But the problem is, later keeps moving. Because there will always be another reason to delay. Another expense, another responsibility, another excuse. And without realizing it, years can pass while we are still waiting for the perfect time. The truth is, you do not need to have everything figured out before you begin. You do not need the perfect income. You do not need a perfect financial situation. You need awareness. You need a starting point. Because the best time to understand your future is before your future arrives. Oh, that's the relief you needed to hear. Another belief many people grow up hearing is this: my children will take care of me when I get older. And if you're a parent, I completely understand where that comes from. We sacrifice so much for our children. We love them more than anything. But let me ask you a different question. When you think about your children's future, what do you truly want for them? Do you want them to have the freedom to build their own dreams, their own family, their own future? Or do you want them to carry the financial responsibility that should have been yours? Because your children are your legacy. They are not your retirement plan. If one day they choose to help you, let it be because they want to, not because they have no choice. The greatest financial gift we can give our children is not an inheritance. It is the freedom to build their own lives without worrying about ours. One of the biggest retirement myths is, I'm too young to think about retirement. And this is understandable. When you are young, retirement feels like a lifetime away. You have other priorities: building your career, starting a family, enjoying your freedom. So retirement feels like something your future self can handle. But time is one of the most valuable resources you have when building wealth. Let me show you why. Jane and Anna both invested the same amount, $200 every month. Neither one invested more money. The only difference was time. By starting at age 20 and continuing until age 60, Jane contributed for 40 years. Her investment had more time to grow and compound. Anna started 15 years later. Even though she invested the same amount every month, she had much less time for her money to work. The result? Jane could build approximately $525,000. Anna could build approximately $162,000. That is a difference of more than $360,000. Not because Jane was smarter, not because Jane earned more, but because Jane gave her money more time. This is why time is such a powerful part of retirement planning. Building wealth requires more than just money. It requires money to invest, time for that money to grow, and discipline to stay consistent. You cannot control everything in life. You cannot predict every market movement. But you can control when you start and the decisions you repeat every day. And remember, starting early does not mean you need to be perfect. It does not mean you cannot enjoy your life. It simply means you are giving your future self more options. Because the goal is not to sacrifice today for tomorrow. The goal is to make decisions today that protect both. Another common belief is, I don't need to save that much now, I'll just work longer. And this is a thought many people have. They believe, if I don't have enough money later, I can just continue working. And maybe they can. But the question is, will working longer always be a choice? The truth is, working longer is not the problem. Many people continue working because they love what they do, and that can be a wonderful thing. The problem is when working longer becomes the only option, because we cannot predict what our future self will look like. What if our health changes? What if our energy is not the same? What if our priorities change? What if one day we simply want more time with the people we love? Retirement planning is not about forcing yourself to stop working. It is not about saying, I never want to work again. It is about building enough financial security so that work becomes something you choose, not something you are forced to do. Because the goal is not just to retire. The goal is to create a future where you have freedom. And this is why knowing your retirement number matters. Because before you can create a plan, you need to know the destination. The last retirement myth is one that sounds very reasonable. I think I will have enough. When I retire, I'll just spend less. And maybe you can. Maybe your expenses will change. Maybe you will need less for certain things. But the question is, how much less? The danger is not adjusting your lifestyle. The danger is making decisions without knowing the actual number. Because retirement is not a short period of time. It could last decades, and small mistakes in your estimate can create a very different reality. For example, maybe today you are spending 50% of your income. You might think, when I retire, I can simply spend less. But how do you know? Will that amount cover your basic needs, healthcare, unexpected expenses, the lifestyle you want to maintain? Without calculating your target, you're simply hoping that the amount you have will be enough.
This is the difference between Anna and Jane. Jane is not preparing because she knows exactly what will happen in the future. Nobody does. She is preparing because she understands her current situation. She has a target, she has a direction, and she can make adjustments while she still has time.
And this is the reason retirement planning starts with knowing your number. Because the goal is not to create fear. The goal is to create clarity. When you know your target, you know what you are working toward. You know whether you are on track. And you know what decisions you can make today. So let us dive deeper into retirement planning by understanding what it is all about. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, this looks complicated, I don't understand finance, maybe this is only for experts, I want you to know something. You do not need to be a financial expert to understand your retirement number. You do not need to memorize formulas. You do not need to predict the future. You only need to understand what each number means and why it matters. Because behind this calculator are simple ideas that anyone can understand. Let's start with the concept behind it. You may have heard the term FIRE. It stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. But let me clarify something. FIRE is not only about retiring young. It is not about quitting your job tomorrow. The deeper idea behind FIRE is financial independence, meaning having enough financial resources that work becomes a choice. You can continue working because you enjoy it. You can slow down. You can change direction. You can spend more time with the people you love. The goal is not simply to stop working. The goal is to create freedom and options. And that starts with knowing one important number. How much do I actually need? So how does the calculator estimate your retirement number? It needs to answer 3 important questions. First, how much money will you need when you retire? Because your future expenses will not be the same as today's expenses. This is where inflation comes in. Second, while you are building your retirement fund, how can your money grow over time? This is where expected investment return comes in. And third, once you retire, how can you estimate how much money you can use each year? This is where the 4% withdrawal rule comes in. These 3 ideas work together to estimate the retirement fund you may need.
Let's start with the 4% withdrawal rule. Don't worry. It sounds more complicated than it actually is. Imagine your retirement fund as a bucket of money. After you retire, you do not spend the entire bucket immediately. Instead, you withdraw a portion each year to support your lifestyle.
The 4% rule is a commonly used guideline that suggests withdrawing around 4% of your retirement portfolio in the first year of retirement. For example, if someone has a retirement portfolio of $1 million, 4% would equal approximately $40,000 for the first year. This gives us a simple way to estimate. If my lifestyle requires this much income every year, how big does my retirement fund need to be? This is why the 4% rule is useful. It helps us work backward. Instead of asking, how much should I save? We can ask, how much do I need to build before retirement? Now, let's talk about inflation. This is one of the most important inputs in this calculator. Why? Because your retirement goal is not based only on what your lifestyle costs today. It is based on what your lifestyle may cost when you retire. For example, if your monthly expenses today are $3,000, that does not mean $3,000 will support the same lifestyle decades from now. Prices increase over time. That is why the calculator adjusts your current expenses using inflation. It is answering, how much will my lifestyle cost in the future? So, where do you get the inflation rate? The goal is not to find a perfect prediction. Nobody knows exactly what inflation will be decades from now. The goal is to use a realistic starting point based on available data. For example, if you are in the Philippines, you can check the Philippine Statistics Authority website under Consumer Price Index and Inflation Rate. For the first half of 2026, the average inflation rate in the Philippines was 4.8%. That can be used as a reference when choosing your assumption. If you are in the United States, you can check official inflation data. For example, as of May 2026, U.S. inflation was 4.2%. That can also be used as a reference. For other countries, you can search your country plus inflation rate. Just make sure you are using reliable sources. One website where you can compare inflation data across countries is Trading Economics. I will put the links in the description below. The next important input is expected investment return. And this is important because while you are building your retirement fund, your money should not simply sit still. It should be invested so it has the opportunity to grow over time. The calculator needs an estimate of how much can my investments potentially grow while I am working toward my goal. Because the growth of your investments affects how much you need to contribute today. So, where do you get expected investment return? It depends on where you invest your money. You can check the fund provider's website, historical performance data, reliable financial sources. For example, the S&P 500 has historically produced an average annual return of around 10% to 10.5% since its expansion to 500 companies in 1957, including reinvested dividends. But remember, that does not mean it earns 10% every year. Some years are positive. Some years are negative. There were financial crises, wars, market declines, economic uncertainty. But over a long period of time, the market has historically grown despite these challenges. When adjusted for inflation, the long-term real return is closer to around 6.5% to 7%. And this is important because retirement planning is about protecting your future purchasing power, not just seeing a bigger number. Now, remember, these are estimates. They are not guarantees. The beauty of this calculator is that it can change with you. If your expenses change, update it. If your income changes, update it. If your investment assumptions change, update it. Because retirement planning is not about creating a perfect prediction. It is about having a realistic direction and adjusting as your life changes. Now, let's see how this works in real life. Let's start with Jane. Jane understands that retirement planning is not about waiting until she is older. It is about knowing her number while she still has time to make adjustments. At age 25, Jane decides to check her retirement plan.
Jane starts with a simple assumption. She wants to retire at age 60. She estimates that her lifestyle today costs around $3,000 per month. She plans to invest $200 every month. Not because $200 is the maximum she can afford, but because that is what she initially feels comfortable committing to. So she runs the numbers. And this is where the calculator becomes powerful.
The result surprises Jane. Based on her current expenses and assumptions, her estimated retirement goal is approximately $3.55 million. But her current investment plan of $200 per month is not enough to reach that target by age 60. The calculator shows her she may reach financial freedom around 15 years later than her target retirement age. And this is exactly why knowing your number matters. Because without calculating, Jane may have continued believing, I'm saving something, so I'm probably okay. But now she has information, and information gives her power.
Instead of ignoring the result, Jane uses it as a guide. She asks herself, what can I adjust? Maybe she can increase her monthly investment. Maybe she can reduce unnecessary expenses. Maybe she can increase her income. The important thing is, she knows what she needs to work toward. So Jane adjusts her monthly investment. Instead of investing $200, she increases it to $1,000 per month. This is the emotional payoff. Deliver with warmth and optimism. Present it as Jane's personal decision, not a recommendation for everyone. End with a brief pause, preparing the audience to see how this single adjustment changes her retirement outlook. Now, look at what changed. Jane did not need a completely different life. She did not need a magic formula. She simply used information, made an adjustment, and changed her direction. With her new investment plan, the calculator shows that she is now ahead of her FIRE goal. She is estimated to reach financial freedom slightly earlier than her target retirement age. But the most important lesson is not the number. The lesson is the process. Jane did not wait until she was 55 to discover the gap. She checked early. She learned where she stood. And because she had time, she had options. That is the real purpose of retirement planning. Not to create fear, not to make you feel behind, but to give you the opportunity to make better decisions while you still can. Now, let's look at Anna. Remember, Anna and Jane are not completely different people. They are the same age, they both work hard, they both want financial security. They both want to enjoy life. The difference is not that Anna does not care about her future. The difference is that Anna keeps telling herself, I still have time. I'll start later. I'll figure it out when I need to. And like many people, later keeps getting pushed further away. At age 25, Anna decides she wants to save $200 every month. She feels like she is doing the right thing. And she is. Building the habit of saving is already a positive step. But there is one thing she does not understand yet. Money saved for retirement needs time to grow over the long term. Keeping money in a checking account may protect the amount you saved, but it does not give your money the opportunity to grow for your future. By age 30, Anna is still saving, but she has never calculated her retirement number. She does not know how much she actually needs, whether she's on track, or whether her current savings plan is enough.
She simply saves whenever she can. And because the money is sitting in her checking account, sometimes it becomes easy to use. A vacation, an unexpected purchase, a lifestyle upgrade. And slowly, years pass without a clear retirement plan. At age 35, Anna talks with Jane about retirement. Jane asks, "Have you ever calculated how much you need?" Honestly, no. I don't even know where to start. It feels complicated. And this is exactly how many people feel. Not because they don't care, but because they do not know the first step. So Jane shares the calculator with her, and Anna decides to finally run the numbers. Anna enters her current situation. At this point, she earns $6,000 per month. Over the years, her lifestyle has also increased. Her expenses are now $4,000 per month instead of $3,000. She has managed to save around $10,000. But because she delayed investing, her money did not have the opportunity to grow. She starts with the amount she originally planned, $200 per month. Then, she runs the calculation. The calculator shows Anna something important. Based on her current situation, she would need approximately $3.2 million for her retirement goal. Her current $200 monthly investment is not enough. The calculator estimates that she would reach financial freedom more than 20 years later than her target retirement age. This could feel discouraging. But this is exactly why Anna needed to know. Because now she has information. And information gives her the ability to make a decision. Anna knows she cannot immediately invest the full amount required. The calculator shows she needs $2,329.35 per month. But she also wants to maintain balance in her current life. So she makes a realistic first adjustment. She increases her monthly investment from $200 to $1,500. The result changes. She's still not exactly at her target, but look at what happened. Before, she was more than 20 years delayed. Now, she's only around 3 years and 11 months behind her target. One decision changed her direction. And Anna realizes, I don't need to fix everything overnight. I need to keep improving. At age 37, Anna receives a promotion. Her income increases to $8,000 per month. But this time, Anna makes a different decision. Before, when her income increased, her lifestyle increased too. Now, she is intentional. She does not automatically spend the additional income. She thinks about her future first. Anna updates her calculator again. This time, she has accumulated $50,000. Her expenses remain controlled. She checks what she needs to reach her goal. The calculator shows she still needs around $2,355 per month to stay on track. So Anna makes another decision. She increases her investment to $2,500 per month. Anna's always on top of her plan. Now, look at Anna's journey. She did not have a perfect start. She delayed, she made mistakes, she started later than she should have. But once she understood her numbers, she started making intentional decisions. The calculator did not change her life. Her decisions did. The calculator simply showed her where she was
and what she needed to do next.
Before we continue, there's one important thing to remember about this example. For simplicity, we assumed a constant 4% annual inflation rate throughout the entire illustration. But in real life, inflation changes from year to year. Your lifestyle changes, your expenses change, and your investments change too. Because of that, you may notice that Jane's and Anna's retirement numbers are different, even if they both use the same inflation rate in this example. That's because inflation compounds over time. The longer you have before retirement, the longer inflation has to increase your future expenses. That's why retirement planning isn't something you calculate once and forget. It's something you review regularly. As your income changes, as your expenses change, and as your investment assumptions change. Update your FIRE calculator. Not because the calculator was wrong, but because your life keeps changing. And a good retirement plan should change with you.
So, what is the biggest lesson from Anna and Jane? It was not about who was smarter. It was not about who had a perfect financial journey, because neither of them did. The biggest difference was time. Jane understood her target earlier. Because she knew her number, she had more time to adjust, more time to build, more time to make better decisions. Anna eventually did the same, but she had less time available. And that is the reality of retirement planning. Time will continue moving forward whether we prepare or not. The question is, will time work for you, or will time work against you?
This is why knowing your retirement number matters. Not because the calculator gives you a perfect answer. It doesn't. Nobody can predict exactly what will happen in the next 20 or 30 years. The value of knowing your number is that it gives you direction. It tells you, am I currently on track? Do I need to invest more? Do I need to adjust my timeline? Do I need to change my lifestyle? Without knowing your target, you are simply hoping that everything will work out. And hope alone is not a retirement plan. Now, maybe you run your own numbers, and the result is not what you expected. Maybe the calculator tells you you need to invest more. Your timeline needs adjustment. You are not where you want to be yet. That is okay. The answer is not to ignore the result. The answer is to start. Start with what you can. Increase as your situation improves. Adjust as your income changes. Because the biggest mistake is not starting with a small amount. The biggest mistake is waiting until you have no more time to adjust. One important thing to remember: saving money is the foundation. But for long-term goals like retirement, where you keep your money matters. Money sitting in a place where it earns very little may look the same on paper, but its purchasing power can decrease over time because prices continue to rise. That is why long-term retirement planning usually requires putting your money into investments that have the potential to grow. Of course, investing should not be done blindly. You should understand where your money goes. You should learn. You should make informed decisions. But do not let the search for the perfect investment stop you from starting. Because many people spend years trying to find the perfect time, the perfect strategy, the perfect answer. And while they wait, they are losing the one resource they can never get back: time. One day, whether we plan for it or not, our working years will eventually come to an end. That is not something we can avoid. The question is not, will I retire? The question is, when that day comes, will I have prepared for it? Retirement planning is not about fear. It is about giving your future self choices.
If you want to find your own retirement number, I created this retirement calculator and made it available for free. You can find the link in the description below. Use it to understand where you are today and what decisions can help you move closer to your goal.
If this video helped you see retirement planning differently, please consider subscribing. Here at For the Future You, we believe that a better future is created through better decisions, one step at a time. A quick reminder, this calculator and this video are for educational purposes only. The results are based on assumptions and estimates. They are not financial advice or a guarantee of future results. Your actual retirement journey will depend on your personal situation, decisions, and market conditions. Thank you for watching. And remember, make one decision today that your future self will thank you for.